Let's not beat around the bush, Fresh Baked. Let's get right to the point. Master Gracie is not the ghost host. So somewhere along the way, the Disney universe, the community, has decided that Master Gracey is the ghost host, and it's driving me crazy. And I mean, I know why, and I get that, but what I want to know, what I want to figure out is the why behind the why. Before we begin, let me just say that Disneyland could do whatever they want with the Haunted Mansion. They can call the ghost host Master Gracey and the Haunted Mansion Gracie Manor all day long. It really doesn't bother me that much. This is all just in fun. But, I mean, really it is, though. I'm trying to figure it out. I want to understand where this Master Gracey stuff came from. Now, I'm no Haunted Mansion expert. I mean, I know more than a little, all right? But I ain't got nothing on those guys over at doombuggies.com, for example. So I'm going to try to do the best I can with this. We did a video a while back, Secrets and History of the Haunted Mansion, and in my research for that video, I never came across a single reference to Master Gracey. Not even just a reference to Master Gracey or the Gracie Manor. And that pretty much sums up my position or defense of why he's not the ghost host. But there's more. But if we had to put a name to the ghost host, in my opinion, the ghost host is Captain Gore, or also known as Gideon Gorlu. According to the initial backstories written for the Haunted Mansion, he was the original pirate that lived there. He's the pirate who wed Priscilla, the bride of the story. He's the pirate who killed Priscilla when he found out that she knew that he was a pirate. A very notorious pirate at that. And he's the man we see in the stretching room hanging himself up in the rafters, having been haunted by Priscilla's ghost because he killed her. And some will say that, well, that could be Captain Gore up there in the rafters of the stretching room, but that doesn't make him the ghost host. But in fact, it does make him the ghost host in that sense, because the host says, you can leave the Haunted Mansion my way, and that's when you are, told to look up and see him hanging there. In other words, the man in the rafters is the ghost host. And hopefully everyone is with me so far, because, I mean, it does make sense, right? This backstory that I'm telling you that was written for the original Haunted Mansion does sort of jive with what we're seeing in the actual attraction. So then why do so many people think that Master Gracey is the ghost host? And the easy answer to that is because that's what Disney told us to think. When they made the Haunted Mansion movie in 2003, Master Gracey was the owner of the mansion, and by definition, you want to call him the ghost host, the master of the house. So when writing the script for the Haunted Mansion movie, it was decided, I guess naturally, I suppose, that the story needed a villain and the house needed a name. So they wrote a story with a sea captain, not Captain Gore, but actually Ambrose Gracie. And it was quite an extensive backstory at that. It includes references to Jean Lafitte, the pirate from Pirates of the Caribbean, the cemetery, the old oak tree, which we hear referenced in the Haunted Mansion theme song, and a lot of other smaller, pieces from the Haunted Mansion attraction. But clearly this story is completely contrived and independent of the story that we see happening, or what story there is of the Haunted Mansion that we see, at the attraction in Disneyland. I mean, when they first started building the Haunted Mansion attraction, they did try to write a backstory, and that's where we get the characters Captain Gore and Priscilla. But in the end, none of those original story elements really got fleshed out in the final product. And what we have now is just sort of a collection of rooms telling sort of a connected story, but not really. I mean, we've gone into this before about there's the dark and the happy and the silly, and they really never really got a smooth narrative all the way through the story. As such, I think you could even go so far as to say that the ghost host is neither Captain Gore or Master Gracey. Well, I know it's not Master Gracey, but it's possible it's also not Captain Gore. I've seen mention of a 1969 press release that said the ghost host was a major domo of the house. This is a term used to describe somebody who speaks for or takes care of somebody else, kind of like a butler or a concierge. And this actually makes quite a bit of sense from a narrative point of view, because it's often you see that where this kind of story is told from a third-person perspective, an observer, if you will, as opposed to somebody who's directly involved or an active participant in the story. And in this way, a butler is actually the perfect voice for this story. But the only thing keeping me from saying for sure that's the case is the fact that the ghost host does go so far as to say he is the man, inferring that he is the man hanging in the rafters in the stretching room. But I mean, if there's no absolutes in this at all, right? Because so much of the other parts of the Haunted Mansion story that we see unfolding don't really connect anyway. So why couldn't it be a butler, also hanging himself? And in this way, I'll say this much about the Haunted Mansion movie, because I don't like it. I never really did, not even really a little. Even the connections, we watch these movies sometimes just to see references to things we love, but those connections were contrived and they don't really fit. They just kind of shoehorn those in there. But I'll say this about the Haunted Mansion movies, that I think that's something that they got right. Terrence Stamp's character, the butler in the story, is our voice, is the person that we're watching this story through, apart from Eddie Murphy, which that's another story. And I don't know if this is intentional or not, but it seems like that movie has sort of contaminated, kind of like Pirates did with the the infusion of Jack Sparrow. It sort of contaminated the attraction that we know today, because previously, as you all hopefully will remember, Priscilla was a victim. She was killed by somebody or died somehow, under mysterious circumstances in the Haunted Mansion. But today we have Constance Hathaway, who instead of being a victim is a Black Widow. She's a killer of husbands. And so I don't know how that happened. Maybe because in the 2003 movie, that sort of made them want to shift what's happening with the bride in the attic. And that brings me to what I really want to talk about. I said earlier that I wanted to get into the why behind the why. The why is the 2003 movie. But why Master Gracey? Why did they decide that they wanted to write a story around Master Gracey? Again, there's really no reference to Master Gracey in the original backstories. The only reference to Master Gracey at all is this. That's a tombstone found not at Disneyland, by the way, at Walt Disney World. That's a tombstone with Master Gracey's name on it. And it was put there as an homage to Yale Gracie, an Imagineer, one of the key Imagineers in developing the original Haunted Mansion attraction. Just like this one right here with Leota Toombs. Now, I'm not sure when, but at some point it began to be assumed that Master Gracey was the man of the house, the master of the house, as it were. I mean, you can see somebody making that connection in their head. It's believed that it was started as fan fiction, actually, written by cast members or just, Haunted Mansion enthusiasts. They see the name Master Gracey on the tombstone, and you want to assume he's the master of the house. But what isn't understood completely is that the term master, in the parlance of the time, of this period, where the story takes place, was not meant to infer that that person is the master of the house. In fact, it's quite the opposite. But in that time, it still would have been very likely that the master of the house would have been called Mr. or maybe Lord, I guess, if they're if it's a house of some stature in society. But no, back then, in the time where the Haunted Mansion story takes place, back then the term master was reserved for young men, men who are not yet old enough to enter society, not yet old enough to be adults. In other words, too young to be called Mr. Those men not old enough to be called Mr. were called Master. So that makes Master Gracey just a kid, maybe 16 years old or younger. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? We go from just a simple name on a tombstone to honor an Imagineer to a major Hollywood movie plot and T-shirts all over the park. And that's why I often go a little bananas when I see Master Gracey show up on merchandise in the parks. I mean, I know it's juvenile, right? And I get it. I'm okay with it, really. It's just that, if I knew less about the backstory of the term master and of Master Gracey, I'd probably be okay with it. I'd probably be like, I'm going to go buy that shirt today because that Master Gracey shirt looks really cool. But today I say down with Master Gracey and up with Captain Gore. Or whatever. It's just a t-shirt. Fresh baked. We've got lots more videos for you to see, so grab a churro and check out our Secrets in History videos or maybe our ride-throughs. Or you can just watch all of our weekly trip reports and have your mind blown by how much fun we're having. It truly is the best of Disney Baked Fresh Daily. Oh, and don't forget, you can support Fresh Baked through our Patreon campaign, link below. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Fresh Baked!